Hello everybody, welcome to Alternative Interactions. I'm Gary. I'm out again. I always like to be outside as much as possible. It's pretty windy at the moment, but hopefully you can hear me. I've got a new microphone on its way. The sound on these has not been great recently, and I've been trying all sorts of things. So yeah, hopefully we'll find a solution. There's a little side trail here, so we'll start off. Yeah, so basically I'm in a wooded area, trail just down the road from me. It's very popular with dog walkers, and I thought, why not? Let's have a little walk and a chat. It's not a babble as such. It's just I wanted to get outside and have a chat rather than sat inside. And again, I'm trying to get fitter. So there we go. So today I want to talk about music. Now, when we go back to the Tartarian times, we don't really have any music. It's one of the anomalies. There's no music. We have classical music going back, but again, the classical music wasn't for the common folk. It was for the rich, for the wealthy, for the to-do, so we're told. And it's always been a sort of a wonder, as in I wonder what music the common folk listened to. What was the music? We're musical people. We've always been musical people, you know. Get a few people together with a guitar and, you know, and off we go, you know. Drums beating, dancing, chanting. You listen to the Native Americans, the Aborigines, they all have this kind of system of culture of indigenous music, of song, often connected to the spirits and really lovely things like that, which is, you know, it has a meaning, has a use. Now in Tartaria, I did one a few weeks back, I guess, called the Hidden Frequencies, and you know, I've looked at the bells and the organs and the light, the stained glass windows fundamentally, and it's very interesting that, you know, when we did the Pandora's Box on Sunday release, you know, Richard's Cards, they pulled the same sort of thing. You know, we were in a medbed of sound waves and frequencies. You know, we were breatharians, and the harmonics of everything was that good. You know, we were in tune and in line with absolutely everything. And then we suddenly got to where we are now, so let's go this way. So we then get to where we are now, and it's very, very interesting that that frequency was destroyed. I'm talking about the Tartarian stuff. The creepazoids ran a system of destruction, you know, and relatively modern destruction as well. Russia, I think, was a very real prime case in point, where I think a lot of the Russian cities were still up and running, the tech was still there, and so we got the Bolsheviks come in, unlived 100 million white Christians, and destroyed the culture and the knowledge. It's beautiful. Hear those birds? Beautiful. Yeah, destroyed culture and the knowledge of this amazing area. And we saw it in World War II. The bombing of Dresden, a fully working Tartarian infrastructure destroyed, burnt to the ground. But it's all frequency, it's all music. Everything is. I mean, if you're biblical, wasn't it the first thing was the word? The word was what's a word? It's a frequency, it's a sound. You know, they talk about trumpets a lot, and all these other hints and stuff that we get, you know, the 7 trumpets that took down the walls of Jericho, and it's all frequency. Everything's frequency, you know, everything. And so we have this link that we know, you know, the organs were for the organs, the bells, you stood inside if you were ill. I don't think you were ill very often, you know. So I've done a show on it, and with the Tartarian stuff that Richard did, pulled the cards and where we went to with that. Because fundamentally what we're talking about is ascension of music. It creates the vibrational frequency that allows us as people to get out of here. And they've destroyed that. Yeah, very interesting, that one, isn't it? They've destroyed the frequency almost of love, harmony, and they've brought in the division and rule. You know, and this is no accident. No accident. It's been going for a very long time. And when we follow the money, we go back in time anyway to who's likely to have been involved in this. We come back to the same old people, same old faces, same old families. And you know, it's very, very sad. But also we see it now. It's very clear. You know, those banking families that have had us in debt slavery, perpetrated the straw man fraud, the full works, you know, it's all there. We know who they are. And they're the same ones that put us into the Babylonian cursed monetary system. So, and again, that's a negative frequency. You know, you think about money and greed. You know, it's a negative thing. There's nothing good or positive about that in any way, shape or form. We're talking about the want, desires, and the things that people are prepared to do for a piece of paper that has no intrinsic value whatsoever. I mean, what a low frequency is that? And it is, you know. I'm sure I heard as a youngster, and I've never really looked it up much, but I was always told by my nan, money is the root of all evil. And yeah, Nan, you were right. Money is the root of all evil. I think we'll carry on for a bit. Yeah, so there's a couple of paths. They sort of link off, but we're going right out into the woods at the moment. Lovely and quiet. Birds, nobody about. Lovely. So frequency, again, birds. Tangent time. You like a tangent. We know you like a tangent. Did you know that bird song in the morning the dawn chorus of birdsong. That is that actually has an effect. That has a purpose. It's not the birds waking everybody up, saying good morning to everybody. Well, they wouldn't be saying good morning because they're not dead entities, are they? And they're not in mourning. But greetings. The birds aren't saying greetings or tweetings. Tweetings. There we go. Good tweetings this morning. Yes, good tweetings. As the sun rises. The bird song actually affects the plant life, and so the bird song actually opens up the leaves, and how the leaves can then, it gives them a boost, an energetic boost, to allow them to start producing oxygen and starting that system of sucking in the CO2, producing oxygen, and getting the world going again. The beginning of new day, new dawn, with the bird song that we hear. And again, when we look at the creeperzoids, I'm sure, this is all connected, it's all frequency. And the bird song is definitely a frequency, and the frequency is beneficial to plants, and plants are beneficial to us. We live in an ecosystem. But the creeperzoids have really pushed in modern farming, and even to Joe Public. I get warm now. Pesticides. And these pesticides have had a very, very bad effect on us, the people. And it's affected many people with their gut health. But what it's also done is killed most of the insects, most of the bugs, most of the little creepy crawlies. And it's just getting a bit boggy here. Try and fix all that, lovely. I've gone properly off piste now into the forest. Not sure if there's a slightly different way to go. I think it's gone a bit boggy here, which is a bit of a shame. So we'll turn around, so I don't think we're going to get much further without getting covered in mud. So we have no bugs left. Pesticides, the insecticides have killed the bugs. Modern farming techniques. This will trigger a few people. I don't care. Veganism, when you're doing all these amazing soya bean plantations and stuff, thousands, tens of thousands of mice and rodents are killed to protect the harvest, and they would die anyway because the bugs have been poisoned by the harvest that we then all eat. But without the bugs, the birds suffer, and they can't make, things that I'm talking about. The birds are really important. We can hear them at the moment. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And that's lovely. But the bird song is part of the nature, which nature needs it. Trees need it. And so when they kill the bugs, there's less birds. And then the plant life suffers. And they know this. It's not by accident. They know all this. They're doing this on purpose. It's a frequency war. Now, moving forward or going back. A helicopter out after me, telling too many truths. We have an airport fairly close by. But those two are black military. Two at a time, black military, that's unusual. There's actually been quite a lot of military flights around Norfolk recently. Fast jets protecting some of the helicopters, in fact, as in RAF Lakenheath American jet fighters. Been very interesting, some of the stuff we've been seeing and observing. Very unusual as well. So, going back to music, you know, banging on the drum, getting that frequency going into different realms. We've gone to the modern music scene, and let's be fair, none of it's organic. None of it. We have an organisation called the Tavistock organisation, full creepazoid dumb elite system, and they've come out with and promoted many of the bands of the time. I mean, the Tavistock group was responsible for the Beatles, and how the Beatles changed the modern culture. And from that change, that initial change, you know, I mean, some could even say Elvis was the same in America. But who knows? But I do know that the Beatles were part of the Tavistock experiment on us, and we get artists that push the boundaries more and more and more and more and more, to the point where the music is now unrecognisable to music. I'm firmly stuck in the 80s and 90s, 70s, 80s, 90s really. Most of the music I listen to is the 80s and 90s, maybe a tiny bit of 2000s, but not much. And I'm not interested in going any further. Obviously listen to some of the 60s stuff, but the Tavistock Institute really did push changes in society through the music. Now, an interesting side note for those, you know, who came across a Jimmy Savile. Certainly in the UK, everyone knows him. He was involved fully with the Beatles in the early days, and introduced the Beatles, I think, for the first year or two, 18 months of their prominence. Actually seen black and white film of Jimmy Savile introducing the Beatles to the crowds as they go wild. He was a warlock, he was a magician, he was a very dark entity, casting spells on the youngsters to introduce their own people. Yeah, I know I'm going to trigger a few people, and there's going to be people, heckles going up on this, but it's truth. It's real. Look it up. Look it up. You know, look it up. That reminds me, Jimmy Savile used to speak in tongues, as in threes. Everything was always in threes. Head back a bit. Yeah, Jimmy Savile will always say something in threes, and I'm not going to repeat any of his sayings because they are spells. It's very, very, very interesting that the news always tells you everything in threes. They'll tell you the story, they'll reaffirm the story, and then they'll do a roundup at the end. 3 times. 3 times as a spell. So the music industry was used to change the culture of the world. Move away from what music really was once by the Tartarian stuff into where we are now. And as I touched on Mr. Savile, we have a notorious rap star, whatever he is, in prison at the moment, don't we? Awaiting trial for offences, which I'm not going to talk about on here, but we all know who we're talking about. Diddy, isn't it? Something like that. I'd never listened to his music, never listened to any of that rubbish. But it's very interesting how the whole sickness is gone. With the frequency now, I like Prince. Prince is one of my favourite artists. Heard him as a youngster, and really liked it. Then sort of moved away, and then when I turned about 16, 17, met a guy who was really into Prince, and he lent me one of his vinyls. yeah, I like this guy. But again, he was edgy. He was out there, wasn't he? You know, at the time. Nowadays, you don't think anything of it, but some of the lyrics and some of the songs he was singing were very, very provocative, to say the least. And he's the reason why parental guidance was placed on records. From the Purple Rain album and the song Darling Nikki. What she was doing in the hotel lobby with a magazine didn't go down very well with the American public when young kids were listening to a track parents had brought them, and suddenly this comes on. Now, Prince did 3 albums before he signed for Sony. Those 3 albums, although critically acclaimed and awesome, did nothing at the time because the control system is there. The whole music industry is controlled, and he hadn't signed a deal with the devil at that point. As soon as he signed the deal, bang, he burst out into the public's awareness. Very interesting, that one, isn't it? And we've seen it so many times. So if you ever see a pop star sat in a bath, that's capitulation. That's them showing their compliance. We obviously have the one-eyed symbolism, the finger over the mouth, the shush, and all that. All spells. But it's interesting that when Prince tried to leave Sony and the deal with the devil, he didn't. And then when Prince started speaking truths, they unalived him. Or potentially a bit like Michael Jackson, he drifted off and took up another role within this world of actors. But there we go. So the music industry is fully controlled when an artist of Prince's ability and talent, after 3 albums, can't make it. Now they've had a plan for a very long time, and they've been implementing this plan. And this all links into the 60s as well. I mean, let's be fair, the summer of love and the introduction to contraception, you know, frequency wise, and again it's all frequency, it's all energy, was designed to destroy the family unit, create promiscuity, and believe it or not, the pill has a secondary effect that not many people are aware of, is it makes women more susceptible to partners who they would not normally be attracted to. And we tend to see this a lot when women stop taking the pill that they've been on for all their lives, and suddenly the relationship goes south because they realise that the man that they're with isn't the man they should have been with. It's kind of a spell, isn't it? That's a very interesting one as well. It's a very interesting concept. So yeah, the music industry and how it's been. So I just my other hand's going to sleep. There we go. The music industry and how it's been controlled, and the frequency of this music. Now I saw a clip. Back up this way. I saw a clip of Michael Jackson, and Michael Jackson was talking, and he was talking to some of the producers of the music he was doing, and he had to get permission. So he had to get permission for the order of his albums and what he was pushing out, and certain songs had to be changed lyrically and musically to fit the agenda of what they were trying to push at the time. So that's quite a big one. So here we have Michael Jackson actually talking openly in this clip regarding the manipulation of the music industry and how the artists had no real free will. And many songs, you're going to get upset about it. Sheep Farm did a very good interview with a guy probably 3 months ago. Look it up. That's Sheep Farm. They have a podcast, I think it's .com. Go to their website, probably easier, and go to their podcasts. And if you go down a couple of months, I had a very interesting interview with a guy who's looked into Paul McCartney or Billy Shears, and that's a very interesting one. Back onto the main path. Yeah, that's a very interesting one. How it's said that Paul McCartney died, was replaced by a guy called Billy Shears, and the rest is history. But he talks about an album that they went in and produced in a few weeks, and that the album covers, vinyl was all ready to go within a day of them finishing up. All the artwork had been done. This is the 60s or 70s, early 70s, late 60s. Stuff took time in them days, and yet everything was done and ready to go. He also talked about the session musicians that played for the Beatles, and that the Beatles really didn't play any of their own music particularly. Very interesting concept, but it totally makes sense when you understand how the world works. You know, and that, again, that's going to trigger some people. But look at Sheep Farm. Very, very interesting interview. They do a lot of very interesting interviews, to be fair. The Plumber series, Dad's Not a Plumber, is very interesting. Where they talk about the Huxley families and some of these families of influence and how they've influenced the world, not in a good way. And the influence of this world is musically as well, because we now have a culture as when you get in the car, the radio's on, commercials on TV. If you watch TV, I don't even own a television, so you know. But I've had the displeasure of going around some friends recently, and I had a television on, and the adverts came on, and I was quite horrified. You know, and I've not watched the TV for 4 years, really, and you get these adverts coming on, and it's like, oh my god, you know. It's a frequency, isn't it? There's a KFC windy. Let's see if I can. There's no side shot at the moment. Get away from the wind. I think there's a KFC advert that's come out where they take a guy, dip him in gravy, turns it into a piece of chicken, and they eat him. I know I've gone off tangent, but it's all connected. It's all the same stuff, you know. It's frequency. So the music industry, there's a guy called Mark Devlin. If you can stomach his excitement, not, but he's got some very, very good stuff. Mark Devlin, he talks about the music industry, and he's a very knowledgeable chap. That's better, isn't it? About the sickness of it, but it's the change of the frequency and how they've used the frequency of music and the subliminal messages within the music to really go for stuff. I mean, we've all seen super talented street buskers, clips on YouTube of talented kids, people who sing far better than some of the stars, far more musically talented than people like the karaoke singer and space astronaut, Mrs. Perry. I think it's been sued by Jeff Bezos, isn't she, for letting the cat out of the bag? I don't know if that's true or not. Taking no notice. Ooh, that's as far as I go with that one. But yeah, it's very, very interesting how modern music has been used to usurp and change the cultural direction of us. And I do wonder what kind of music they used to have in Tartarian times and beyond, because let's face it, back in the day, thousands of years ago, they were far more advanced than we were. Far more. It's likely that they built the pyramid using sound and harmonics and frequency to move and lift the stones. You know, if you ever look in Coral Castle, a guy lived on his own in a place called Coral Castle. It's in America, I believe. And the man built an amazing structure all by himself with no tools. Basically no tools. And he used frequency to levitate big blocks. And he always did it at night. He'd worked out how to do it. And being very sensible. He didn't share that with the world, because I think he understood exactly what happens when you start sharing technology of that kind with the world. Breathing becomes an issue, doesn't it? So yeah, frequency of the music currently, and what I wonder what they did have back then. You know, I really do wonder what the music would have been like, because I've got a suspicion. You know me. The dumb elites aren't clever enough to work out and plan this stuff. They're just not. They're not clever enough. So I think this has all been done before. Part of the game plan. They've played it before. Everything's in a loop. Everything's a circle. And we got that from Rocking Pandora's Box 12 with Richard about the ascension of Tartarians, the Mayans and the Incas, and probably many other races before that. I mean, didn't even look at some of the other more famous races or groups, you know, or things in history that are mythology almost, but not. So we're in cycles, and I believe very firmly that everything has already happened here before, will always happen here again. But this time it's slightly different because we're going to be walking out in our bodies, because we're upgraded and changed into crystalline beings due to the frequency. And you say frequency again, and here's the kicker that we're going back to now: the Schumann resonance, the resonance of Mother Gaia, the crystalline code, the Chris code that I've talked about, which is exactly the same frequency pattern, interference pattern and sine wave of atomic matter, protons, photons and atoms that make up this world, this realm, with all the quantum entanglement of everything. It's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. And so, with Gaia coming online now, I think we're in a position where it's really going to start changing the frequencies. And this is what we're feeling. This is the upgrade that we're getting. You know, it really is. I've just got some dog walkers. So yeah, it's very, very interesting when we come to frequency. Hello. So the Schumann resonance comes from Gaia. And Gaia's been offline for a fair while, but she's not anymore. And that frequency's come back. It's coming back for us. And we're getting that frequency. And we're changing. Was it every 90 days all our cells change, reproduce, and every 7 years we are completely new beings, emotionally, physically, spiritually. You know, it's very, very interesting. Very interesting that, there we go, that's better, isn't it? Bit of sunshine coming out there. Yeah, it's very, very interesting that the frequencies are changing and we feel it. And I'm pretty sure you've all been feeling it. I did one of the dreams and sleeping the other day, and I still am struggling. Real strange dreams. I had a very similar dream to the missus. Not the same, but the same kind of energy. And yeah, a lot going on at the moment. A lot going on. We know there's a lot going on around us, coming up. And it's the frequencies. So I hope that was kind of a decentish babble of the frequencies and coming around to the Schumann and Mother Gaia, the crystalline code of the sound wave frequency that is nature. So please check out my other videos on that. And with that, I'm going to say love, light and blessings. And goodbye everybody, and thank you for listening, and please like, share and subscribe. Bye everyone. Bye.